Oh, the line minister. Now, you see these guys were going to set up some music here in Broad Street. They saw us, they heard us, and they wanted to play their music as we get here. They started to want to play some calypso music. But the police and the vibes of the people had to change the mood. Let's say, yes, I am.
The music can get up and say they don't give up. But we said, let's get it. I remember it's like with the people about the Medicare. And he said, look, I'm paying about Medicare. And how women can't even pronounce the word or spell Medicare properly. You don't do what he said.
If that bill is done,
you all the thing about Barbados.
Yes. NAF money get left, right, center. I don't know about the money here, they don't replace money. He want back the NAF money. The national insurance money that all the road, wait, and sleep. Then them get 68, then about one to the food and thing that would have been them.
No, I ain't gonna find it out. Back up. Said as this. Big up door. I don't want to stop. I'm so much afraid. I mean afraid. I'm so old. God forbid, a lot of these that are still working.
That's beautiful.
That's what the show is for.
Yeah, this is always the God bring the blessings, man, after the man. Right after you get here, so y'all come in with the rain. So that means then, y'all was rolling with the old thing. Y'all again. After you get here, you just bam, 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 bam. And let me know what's going on. You understand? That's good. I say, then you rain right time, right moment, right timing. And let's see. And everybody get here, so I'm feeling happy and irie. You know what I'm saying? Stop keeping the people money. Give me back the NIS money.
They belong to the politicians. They belong to the people. Any man that puts that money, just take it up. Somebody has to charge for that.
Yeah. All right. Transparency.
The deeping and then even gave me that.
I can't understand it. I'm here, back. And don't forget Saturday the 19th, people. Don't forget March Rally again. We'll be heading from Kensignton Oval. You know where? We are meeting in Independence Square. We're going straight to Independence Square. Come out, the March Rally. Pull back that bill. See you there. Please share this video. Thank you. Have a great day.
Evening, good evening. Listen, we started off with a bang, right? We start off with a bang, and this is what we are about. We're not forgetting. We're dealing with other issues, but we are not forgetting what we are about, guys. What is it? What is happening? And guess what? I got a call from the Deputy Commissioner of Police this evening, I tell you. And we have now all of our permits. We just have to go and pick it up tomorrow. All right. Somebody was saying something was wrong with the sound. Okay. Just seeing that, but we will try to play it again. Hopefully in the, a little later. Were you able to hear it? I hope you were able to hear it. But listen, folks. We have our permits. We have the permit for the Independence Square. And we have our permit for the police to do the march itself. And this time around, guys, we're going to be stopping at Independence Square, okay? And let me know if the audio is good. Okay. Someone is saying that they can hear. Yeah. If you can hear, let me know. Let me know if you can hear. But we are going to be in Independence Square, and I know that it's going to be really, really great. A great time. So listen, whatever you did last time, you're gonna double that effort. All these things are coming out. Hi, Pauline Maynard from Maryland. Wonderful. Guys, as you come on, share the live. We are starting with a bang this evening, and we need you to remember, why is it that we're coming out? Why is it that we're coming out? Why are we coming out? Huh? What's the purpose? Why are we out there? Why are we out there? This is what the people are asking for. The people have decided to take a stand and demand that the age of retirement be at 65. Let me hear a yeah. Give me a fist. Put a fist in the comment section if you're with that. The age of retirement to be at 65. Eligibility remains at 500 contributions. Politicians and citizens to be on par with respect to retirement age. We don't want the politicians to be retiring at 50 and we are retiring at 65. Oh no. Give me a fist if you're in agreement with that. And let me know if you're coming out on Saturday, right? More compliance officers to be employed to ensure contributions are paid. Yes, I see that. I'm that believer. Government pays back the money owed to NIS. Yeah. Let me see the fist. Fist up. Give me some of thumbs up. Fist up. Government goes after the defaulters. Government identify the leaks in the scheme and fix them. Regular audits are conducted. Systems be put in place whereby the government cannot use the funds. NIS be placed into the central government and not under the absolute control of the minister. Systems be put in place to help micro businesses file their contributions. And number 12, that the NIS bill and the pensions bill be withdrawn. Pull them back. Go, Natasha. I see the fist. I see fist, Marsha. Is that my sister from Jamaica? Marsha Bryant. Mark Clark. I'm seeing the thumbs up. And this is Saturday. That's what we're about. I'm not sure why the audio was that bad on this. But listen, guys, I think you know what time it is. You know what's going on. Yes. And that is what is happening now. We have a great show lined up for you. Mr. Kimar Stewart is right there in the wings to come in. And I have another 5 minutes to talk with you real quickly about this march. So remember, it is Saturday. It is Saturday, August 19th at 10 a.m. Yes? Oh, that's my sister from Jamaica. Hi, Marsha. Yes? Yes, Ramim, I'm seeing you have what? 6 fists. Listen, out there must be like in Jamaica when you say out there must be cock. Out there must be full of people on Saturday, right? Listen, folks, listen. Now, somebody might say, but you all went out on Saturday already. Why are you bothering to go out again? Why is it necessary to go out again? You went out already on Saturday. Can anybody tell me how long the Montgomery bus boycott lasted for? Right? How long did the Montgomery bus boycott last? And let me see if any bright sparks out there can tell me. How long did they protest about the segregation on the bus in the US? Anybody? Wayne, Marsha, Andrew Fenty, Annette, Mark Clark. Any bright spark can tell me? How long? They started December 5th, 1955. Listen carefully. So for all of you, say, well, we went Saturday already. They started December 5th, 1955, and the boycott was finished December 20th, 1956. 1956. You know how many months that was? 13 months of protests. And when they were finished, the segregation of the buses on the buses stopped. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So you go out there 2 mornings, and you went Saturday, and they said, man, we don't need to go. No. Because the pressure is what they're not the leaders. The government will respond to the pressure. And we must remember what it is that we are asking for. We are at there 12 items that we're asking for. And throughout the night, I'm going to keep repeating them. And Montgomery bus boycott was a 13-month mass protest. And it ended with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that segregation of public buses is unconstitutional. I'm saying to us, Barbados, do not give up. Don't stop. Don't stop until they put it back at 65. Don't stop until they move. The politicians, the MPs, and us have the same retirement age. That's what we want. We want the contribution to go right back to 500. And we need to make a stand up. We are not going to stop until that happens. We will hit the streets as often as we need to hit the streets. Right now, there's no segregation of the public buses in the U.S. because of the Montgomery bus mass protest that lasted 13 months. And we went one Saturday and we think it's done. Oh no. It's not done yet. It's not done. 381 days. 381 days. And we went one time and we think it's done. In Jamaica, we have a saying that says what? They say, if you think we're done, we just a come. So you let the officials know, if they think we're done, we just a come. Yeah. Someone saying here, Marilyn Pinnock says, yes, the pressure. If the people uncomfortable, then government must be uncomfortable too. And I agree with that. More power to you, Marilyn. I love it. 381 days. How we could be tired. How we could be talking about we're not coming out. You make sure you bring out all your neighbors here. Go into your neighborhood and pack up the car, pack up the van. Right? Some of you have a big vehicle. Put the people in the vehicle and bring them to Massy Car Park right there in front of Kensignton Oval. Yes, we're fighting not just us, but for our future. I see the general right there. Let me welcome the general. General, how you doing today? You're muted.
Sorry, I'm a bit late because when I was about to log on, phone rang. Somebody from National Insurance, they're concerned what the government is doing to them too, because they are now trying to explain to National Insurance what's going on. Mind you, they passed the act already, and National Insurance is now being put on board. Unfortunately, the government always get things backwards. They do it wrong before every time, and then they have to go and try to fix it. If they look bad, but that's what we got, and we got to stand up to them. They have to say that the government is comfortable, then we should be comfortable. If they're uncomfortable, or we're uncomfortable, then we're uncomfortable. I agree with that person.
Correct. So to those people who said, but we went last Saturday, what do you say to them?
Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, you cannot expect. They want you to do this protest and go, and they'll be happy. What you need to do is keep the pressure on them. Keep your foot on their necks. They got to give up sometime because the government cannot resist the entire population. People are afraid of victimization. You can't victimize all. That's what the nurses at the two polyclinics recently showed them, because all of them came off. They can do victimize all. If National Insurance staff come out, National Insurance is a specialist department. You can't just take somebody from National Insurance and get them a feedback and tell them they're going to do the work. They need them. National Insurance is a specialty. And as a matter of fact, it is not the insurance that you can get at Sagicor or those other places. It's something completely different. The only way you will learn national insurance is in National Insurance Department, or what they call it these days now. But so those people have power. The problem is that they don't know how to use it, and a lot of them are too afraid to use it. But government cannot take any steps against them unless they allow the government to do so. It's as simple as that. They have the power. But you know,
so you're saying that the national insurance staff, if they need to come out and join this march and rally, and they need to do something inside there, because if they stop working, what's going to happen? They need those people.
yes, that's why the point I've been making with them for the longest time. They need you. Look at customs. They wanted to put customs in Bra. Customs is a specialty. You don't just wake up one morning and say I'm a customs officer. You don't give the people machetes and cutlasses and hoes and bead whackers and say you be a customs officer. You have to train them for it. And same thing with national insurance. You can bring somebody from. I don't care how many degrees you have. If they transfer to national insurance tomorrow, you will be in the wilderness. You wouldn't know what to do. Some very junior people to you will have to come and teach you what to do. Because there's only one national insurance in Barbados. So when people talk about, oh, you got this qualification, insurance, and that kind of stuff, it does not make sense simply because the qualification does not speak to the national insurance rules, the national insurance regulations. They don't. You had people at national insurance. I can mention if I call Tony Thomas. He's retired now. I had no degree, but there's nobody in Barbados knew more about national insurance than he did. And he was never promoted to the level that he should have been at because he didn't have the degree. People look at these qualifications from UWI or wherever they get them from, but qualifications don't work. The national insurance people are the specialists in national insurance. Not actuary, not minister of labor, nobody. National insurance staff has the power. I was telling you earlier about customs. When customs said we ain't going to buy what they did, they left customs alone. Because customs was willing to stand up. National insurance doesn't have any leaders within, and they are members of NUPW, and they don't have any leaders there either. And that is their problem. I have not seen, in all the years I've been working in and around the public service, where they changed something into a statutory board, and it was successful, and it worked well. None. Mind you, National Insurance was always a statutory board, but the staff were public officers. All this legislation did is to give people now outside of the public service the right to hire and fire national insurance staff, because everything that they put in the legislation was already there. I challenge anybody to show me anything in the national insurance other than the changes to the personnel policies and stuff that is different from what could be achieved under the current act, the legislation that you had enforced from 1966. Bar wasn't a fool. He knew what he was doing. The fools are appearing now. So I'm very sorry for those people. They will suffer, and then they will be dismissed, and then the yard folks will get their jobs.
Correct.
Because that's
Correct.
what happened. I keep telling these people, when you work at National Insurance, that you were a public officer. Public officers have something called the Public Service Qualification Order. That qualification order says so what qualifications you must have. There is no such thing as statutory boards. Statutory boards have qualifications for their staff too, but they're not enforceable. You can turn around and say, don't bother about that. I will, my man will get the job. And I told you about the stats. I told you on this program already about one man who did not have a pitman, CXC, GCE, City and Guilds, Cambridge or Level or London, but he ended up being a general manager of the National Housing Corporation. You want to know why? Yard foul. So that is what will happen at National Insurance. Mind you, the people who are trained with National Insurance, they will end up still doing the work while these people walk out the place with clipboards in their hand. Because they do not know. On a regular basis, I appear before National Insurance tribunals to represent people who didn't get their benefits or who are the Sabbath People Tribunal people who require Sabbath. And in my early days, National Insurance officers at the level of inspectors used to do that work. Now they bring lawyers because they're always looking for ways to keep the average fellow down. The lawyers don't know more about National Insurance than those fellas. They're going to ask questions. I remember going to a meeting with one of the lawyers there, and they said, listen to me, you have no such authority. He said, but it's directly to make it. And I said, they're not like authority either. Read the law. And that person was up for 4.5 years because I was not prepared to sit down with them, and they didn't know what to do after that. 4 years full pay. You want to know why? These experts who come in and get imposed at the top. That is the problem. And all this act will do now, all these new changes will do, is to put 8 new chiefs at National Insurance. Chief of this, chief of that, chief of the third, chief of the fourth. As I said, all chiefs, answering a provision for Indians, and the National Insurance will now become the Barbados Labour Party Employment Agency. That's what will happen. They're destroying everything they put their hands on. You're muted, Marcia.
Yes, sorry about that. With the bill that they passed, and that is why we are out there on Saturday at 10 o'clock. Right here in Barbados, Saturday, August 19th at 10 a.m. And we're saying pull back that bill, and everybody is coming out. I see Mr. Stewart with us tonight. And Mr. Stewart, I tell you, I've been getting so many comments about last night's show, and people just really saying that they were so impressed with you last night and how you presented yourself as a young man. And you're here tonight again, and we welcome you again, sir. But before you jump into the topic that you want to talk about, what do you say to Barbadians who say, well, we were out there last week, why we need to go back again in the hot sun? Why is that necessary? What do you say to them?
Well, I would prefer if they come in the middle of the week and protest and help block some traffic and show the government and the principalities in Barbados that we're serious. So I would encourage those persons who did not come last week to come this week and come out in even bigger numbers because the protest is needed. Don't wait until you reach up in age to then say, well, I should have been up there with Caswell, I should have been up there with Marcia, I should have been up there, I sat down and I did nothing. So I always say, in 20 years, when you get in your elder stages and your grandchildren ask you, well, mommy or daddy or granny, when the protests and stuff was happening back in these times, where were you? What were you doing? And your answer was, man, they were protesting, but I really ain't bothered to. You become a disappointment. So if you don't want that, as somebody said, be outside. We need to be outside come Saturday. You're muted, Marcia.
Having some trouble there with my mic. The deputy the commissioner of police called, and he said to me, Mrs. Weeks, we have your permit and come on down. And he also said that the police that were there commended the group on how orderly we were. He said, I had such good reports about this group, and I'm so impressed about the behavior on the road. And we know how to behave ourselves. We know how to behave ourselves, right? So So really, right now, I want to continue to encourage you to come up. Kimar, I don't know if it's just me, but there seems to be a lot of wind in your mic.
Um, yeah,
Seem like something, some crackling, like a crackling sound
yeah,
in the
better
mic.
know,
Speak again. Oh,
better know.
definitely. Oh, yes, definitely better now. Definitely better now. Okay, so now tonight, Mr. Stewart, we're gonna come back to the NIS as we go through. So don't believe that we're not dropping this. You know, this is like the Montgomery boycott that lasted all these 13 months. I see Lumumba is in, and Lumumba is gonna say something as well. But we want to jump in to this topic as we were dealing with last night. We were talking a lot about what seemed to be perceived, seemed to be a lot of corruption in Barbados. And one of the areas that we want to look at is this particular tax. Okay. And I want to just give you the floor to go ahead and just educate the people of Barbados, Mr. Stewart.
Yes. Well, good evening again. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the audience for the engagement. I am very happy with the feedback, and I hope to be here to continue to help give Marcia and Caswell and all the others, Lynette, remember some strength so that they can be successful in lobbying for the people. Before I get into my topic, I wanted to raise some awareness again to the issue that Caswell brought up about the NAS board and changing the terms of employment for public servants. So if you are you right now the NAS workers are public servant, and to change over to a board, they're asking the workers to reapply for the jobs, which means that the terms and conditions of their employment is being changed, and they now will be working for the board, and they will no longer be public servants. And the most dangerous thing in that is that all they need is 1 day's notice to fire you. So you have a large section of NAS workers right now feeling so scared that if they do not sign on to their board onto this board, what will happen to their jobs? So we need to stand up against that. Now, why I really came here today is because I wanted to talk about the sewage and this sewage tax, this garbage and sewage tax, the tax on water that every Barbadian household is required to pay. Now, by name sewage, we know that Barbados had the issue with the sewage, and the government came in promising to tackle this sewage problem, and they also promised to buy us garbage trucks with this garbage and sewage tax. And the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister announced in her budget that they were going to remove the Sanitation Service Authority from the government's consolidated fund, so that government will no longer be required, or central government will no longer be required to fund the Sanitation Service Authority. And
Mm-hmm.
this was part of the IMF program to cut
Mm-hmm.
transfers from the state to state-owned enterprises. So the state-owned enterprise that the government completely removed from government financing was the Sanitation Service Authority. And they said at the time that this garbage and sewage tax will fund the Sanitation Service Authority and the collection thereof. So as we know, it was put on our water bills, and the rate charged to citizens was $1.50 a day. It said that $1.25 is supposed to go to the Sanitation Service Authority for garbage collection, and the other 25 cents to be retained by the Barbados Water Authority.
So you're
And they
saying
had,
that for each day, we're paying $1.50
yes,
and so that's the tax. So the garbage and the sewage tax is $1.50. Okay, each person,
yes,
each
yep,
person, or each each household? Is it each
Each
household or each
household,
person?
each household,
Each
each water
household.
bill,
Okay.
each bill,
Each water bill.
yes, to be added $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
And this tax was implemented on the 1st of August 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So on the other side where there's commercial water entities, larger entities, commercial entities, the government put a separate tax on them, same sewage tax, but a separate charge, which was supposed to be 50% of their water bills.
Mm-hmm.
And that amount was supposed to go towards the sanitation. Right? Following me?
Yes.
Good. So you remember we had a big fanfare by Minister Prescott when they brought in the sanitation trucks from
Mm-hmm.
overseas. Upwards, so now we don't even know if it was government money that bought these trucks. Upwards, so now we don't even know if the government actually owned these trucks. But they're saying, or they didn't even say, they gave the impression that the garbage and sewage tax bought these trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some controversy where the Prime Minister had to recant on that truck issue because they were saying that somebody left Barbados to follow the people who were down there and they had to come back home and it was not successful. And then a couple of weeks later, Prescott turned up with the trucks down at the port.
So we don't know whether it is that we bought the trucks,
Correct.
the trucks were given to Barbados.
Or it could be that the trucks were purchased with somebody's money and then the government wrote out a contract to repay these people money. We don't know. Right? No. When you dig deeper past that, the garbage and sewage tax, as I say, most taxes come through government's consolidated fund. They're saying now that the water authority will collect this tax. An article came out in the newspaper which said that the water authority has not been paying the portion for the sanitation over to the Sanitation Service Authority. And in conversations with the union and union members, they're telling the sanitation workers they can't get increase in hazard pay and other amenities because the water authority is not paying over the sewage tax to them.
So what's happening with it? Where is it?
Well, that's where I'm getting to know. The general manager of the water authority said that they have been borrowing the sewage tax to run the water authority. Which by borrowing mean that they're the ones who collecting it, so they're just using it for their purposes. He said that in a newspaper article.
That's called misappropriation of government funds. It's a crime.
Misappropriation of funds. And here, this is. I was going to say the same thing, Mr. Stewart. Misappropriation of funds is what, and this is what they did with the NIS. Isn't that true, Kimar? Isn't that a similar thing of what was done with the
But that's what they're trying now. That's what they're trying now, to remove the NAS from under central government control, so that they can run it, as Caswell said, with their new appointed whoever's out from the scrutiny of central government. So remember, Kobe, at the point where the water authority is using the sewage tax for their own benefit, not approved by the Ministry of Finance, because the legislation does not give the Minister of Water Resources permission to spend government money. Only the Ministry of Finance can implement such an order. So no permission has been sought from the Minister of Water Resources or the Minister of Finance to do that deed, but it is happening, and it was written in the paper, and the general manager actually came out and said this is what is happening at the water authority. What's dangerous about this? What is dangerous about this is that you cannot see any public records whatsoever, no central bank report, no IMF report, no reports from Parliament, no gazette. There is no public record that can show you how much the garbage and sewage tax ever made in Barbados since its implementation. No records. And I challenge
You're serious?
anybody.
You're serious about that? That there's nobody knows because they haven't done financial statements on this.
The water authorities' financials are behind time years, and no financial statements were tabled for that organization for quite some time.
Wow.
And
But isn't there a bill that there's a law of financial, I can't remember what they call it, but where according to that law they need to present financial statements?
Every
yes,
statutory board has that provision in their legislation. But statutory boards are run by politicians, and politicians who make the law and who ignore the law. And there is no mechanism right now for punishing lawbreakers, who elected lawbreakers especially. Look at the Auditor General's report. The Auditor General's report, year after year after year, speak to a lot of malfeasance. And what happens? He writes it again the next year, and again the following year, and nobody does anything about it. Nobody gets locked up. Nobody gets brought before tribunals. You know, the people at the lower level get put before tribunals all the time, and they keep me quite busy. But I don't get a chance to go and represent the big fellas because the big fellas don't get charged. Because I will tell you, the problem with that is our system is so corrupt that the people who should be monitoring the politicians, Prime Minister and all of them, are appointed by the Prime Minister. So or put to act by the Prime Minister. So if the Prime Minister decides, well, you are acting, you're gone. So you see, there's no independence. The civil service should be independent and allowed to operate as independent service should. But if they do that, politicians will get locked up. So you change the rules, you change everything. Look at the police. Recently, and they cast me for it because they went and appoint a second deputy commissioner. But you remember that? There was no provision in the law to do so. And I remember because I did some consultations with the prison, police, and fire service, so I had to read the legislation. And when I say no something, I remember that there's only one deputy, you know. I went and checked, there it was, and they cursed me all over the place. Then when they went and checked for themselves, they went and passed piece of legislation to do the damage that they had done and backdate it for for at least 2 years.
I remember that.
Yeah, you see, the problem is, but then when you do these kind of things for policemen, the policeman can be grateful. And the career policeman who was out there working hard, but because he doesn't show any interest in politics, he ain't gonna get promoted. The police force now is being destroyed, and it's being destroyed by the politicians who want to control it. So you know now the politicians commit crime, and a constable, let's say a constable, want to report one of them. Constable in trouble. You remember the thing where down in Deacons, a police constable quite rightly, this fellow's a hero. I don't know him. I like to shake his hand. When the drug lord fella called the Prime Minister, had to understand speed dial, and said the police here wants up me, and she tried to get the policeman instructions. The police refused. I don't take instructions from you. So then the call had to be made. And then the person who gave the police instructions could call off the police.
But you speaking about that issue, but I want to carry you back a little bit to. We had a whole police commissioner who was sent home or put on retirement for wiretapping. And when the government changed, the government actually brought back this person to be a consultant on crime.
I'll explain something to you. One of the things I have done, or the criteria sent me to do, is fraud examinations. Teach me how to detect fraud. I did that course with the CUNA Management School and the people in New Orleans. And one of the things that people do, the police out there do, is to get people with the experience in law breaking to teach them how they break the law. I'm not saying that somebody broke the law. I'm saying to you that it is practice. That if you know of a situation, you know of a, especially if it comes to reform, the FBI and everybody else is taking them and use them as informants, and people have how to do the training.
Well,
Sometimes just set the backslide, but so that's not normal practice.
yeah.
Not,
But that's a serious. But
I am not saying that anybody broke any law or anybody did anything wrong. I am just
but
explaining to you what happens in the outside world, that you use criminals to teach the police how they, because sometimes the police don't even know. I remember when these scenarios when they give us the case studies to do, the police weren't up to scratch yet. The people that are doing things, the police have to find out how to find out from the criminals. Even with drugs, sometimes they got some drugs that got people real high, and people don't even know, the authorities don't know about them yet. So the police and the law enforcement officials have to use people with the experience.
hmm,
I don't think
well,
it is.
well, that's a very serious thing because if it is that you were caught, evidence tabled, and you were tried and found guilty,
No, he wasn't trying to
released.
guilty. If you're speaking about the same thing I know about,
Oh,
he
all right.
was suspended, but they call it in the public service, interdicted from the performance of his duty.
Okay.
The
Well,
problem here is that if you look at the correspondence, the chairman of the commission claimed that he spoke with the governor general telling him what to do. Well, there's no way you could have convicted that man for any wrongdoing at that point, because the governor general is the person who you have to appeal to, and the last leg of your appeal is the governor general. Now, if the governor general is involved up front, I don't care what you do. Then we got nobody else now that you can go to. So his
okay.
process has been tainted. He might have been accused of a lot of things, but then because it was done so badly, you can hold him.
Mm.
But the policy was never. This
You
policy
know,
was
you
never
guys
had.
are
Sorry.
interesting. I tell you, corruption. Listen, now I want to go back to this garbage and sewage tax. So you're saying that it was the BWA that collects the tax, but why wasn't it collected through BRA?
If you
Am
collect,
I understanding that correctly?
In enter slash fund.
look, if it's
This is where you
collected
turn
by BRA,
the SOE into the slash fund.
BRA has to send it into the consolidated fund. When you want money in the consolidated fund, you have to get a
Yeah.
warrant, minister. You got to get something from Parliament, all kind of stuff. When you have it as a statutory board, you stick your hand in it and take up some. There's little or no
Correct.
accounting until
Correct.
after statutory board. That is why, and I can tell you something. It was
So
done
wait, Caswell, go do that again for me because it broke up and I didn't hear entirely. So you're saying that traditionally it would BRA would have collected the garbage and sewage tax, but it is now being collected by a statutory board, which is yeah.
BRA has taken over the tax collection agencies. You had land tax, you had licensing authority. So BRA was consolidated, made a statutory board and collect money, but they collect it and pay into the treasury.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the money goes into the treasury, that's what they call the consolidated fund. When you want money in the consolidated fund, there is a process. It has to be either in the estimate, when you discuss the estimate, every end of the financial year to make sure that it passes before April
Mm-hmm.
1st, or not government will have any money, and they can't pay anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the estimates is always a big thing, and to make some song and dance about having people in the well of Parliament making a mockery of the whole process. But that's for another time. And put civil servants to answer the questions that politicians were elected to answer. because the politicians are dumb. So they have to put civil servants in the relevant parliament to answer the questions that they should be answering. They are in control of their ministries, and they are the people who were elected to answer those questions. But some public servants like the little show, they feel proud to go in parliament, and they know that the board said they should be doing. They don't know they're a bunch of idiots. However, when money goes into the consolidated fund, it don't just come out like that. It is in the estimates. You have to put money in the estimates, and then the Minister of Finance gives a warrant to the Accountant General to pay out that money. When it goes to a statutory board, there's no warrant from the Minister of Finance. The people can stick their hand in it as they like, and they have been doing. Now, if that money was collected by the authorities that normally collect taxes in Barbados, the water authority can take it up and use it. So you understand what's happening now. Anybody, even the water authority, get their hands on the money. And let me point out to you, this money or this tax was raised in their budget. Let me explain what a budget is. That song and dance that you see people make all these fancy speeches is not the budget. A budgetary proposal is a proposal to raise a tax. That's what the law says. If you check the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act, an act that was passed in 1967, that act gives the Minister of Finance or somebody acting on his behalf the power to raise taxes. In an emergency situation, like for instance, you have the estimates. They're saying that you're going to have $1 billion in revenue, but your expenditure is projected to be $1.5 billion. So you got a shortfall of $0.5 billion there, and you got to raise this. You got to find that money. So what this legislation does is to give government the authority to raise taxes without going to Parliament and going through the necessary bills, and then going through Parliament. That should take some time. Mind you, things go through Parliament now overnight. So this legislation will already matter now because you can do it overnight, as these people do. But normally, that legislation would allow the minister to raise a tax. He can only raise a tax, or he could create a new one. But he can't even lower a tax in the budget. I've seen it done, but it is against the law to do so. If you can lower a tax, you go to Parliament. However, this tax, I can read the definition of tax in the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act. It says the tax includes all assessments, charges, duties, fees, rates, impositions, and other levies, however called, the proceeds of which are payable into the consolidated fund as part of the revenues of Barbados. So the money had no right going to the water authority. Then you raise it in the budget. It's against the law. They knew that.
So you're saying the money, the taxes raised and going to the water authority is against the law. And I'm learning a lot of things, and I'm learning that there are lots of things. I don't know what the reason is. If it because there's a lot of young people in the government, or they're rushing along things, but seem to be doing a lot of things that are not lawful. That it doesn't go in. It's not in contravention of the law. It is in contravention of the law.
It is not. It is not a lot of young people that are in the Parliament. That if you had that young man there, sir, on this screen in Parliament, he's young too, but he ain't dumb. So you got young and dumb. That's the problem. So anything happens, they're going there. I don't even speak to the bill. They talk all kind of fancy foolishness. I'm like, I saw the paper today. Mr. Cummings is reported to saying that senators should be covered by the Integrity and Public Life Bill, because senators serve on statutory boards and all kind of thing. That idiot. The people on statutory boards are under that bill already. So you don't need it to be a senator or anybody else for that thing. They just talk. You know, they're talking heads. And so many people give them a brief, but they don't really understand it and they talk rubbish. And the thing is, the people in newspapers report it and make it sound like it makes sense. It does not make sense. Mike, let me go on with this provision of Collection of Taxes Act. When you raise a tax in the budget, you have 4 months to bring the necessary legislation to Parliament, or the money must be refunded to the people you get it from, you know. It has never happened. They go to Parliament and then pass an illegal bill called a validation bill. You cannot raise a tax in retrospect. That is contrary to law. You cannot take up somebody's property from last week. You have to take up, and money is property. The courts have already decided that money is property. So when you take up a person's property, you have to do it from tonight. That's why our Barbados used to say in the budget, from midnight tonight. Never said from last week. Mind you, I've seen budgets that went back a tax bill in the past. But that is illegal. That's unconstitutional. But you think people pay conscience any mind nowadays? They do what they like. And because they have people who are dumb, who don't understand government, don't understand anything, just they are in there to get their pension after 8 years and live and then get it from age 50. That is all they want to do. And they will not challenge the Prime Minister. They will not challenge anybody in defense of their constituents if it means that they might not survive for the next election or they will try to get rid of them. So they toe the line. So when they toe the line, they are not acting as representatives of the people. They are acting as representatives of the Barbados Labour Party. No, parties in Barbados do not run in elections. In Guyana, yes, you have a party and a party list. And you go forward. So the parties are running. However, in Barbados, every person that runs so as an independent person. Mind you, remember the Barbados Labour Party, but the Barbados Labour Party does not put a candidate before the House. So your first duty is to the people who elect you, not to the Prime Minister, not to anybody else. And all of these changes, even the changes that are so fundamental to everybody in Barbados, did you hear of any MP who held a constituency meeting to tell the constituents, well, this is what's going to happen in national insurance? Poor fellas, some of them don't even know. That's the problem. And even if they knew, most of them didn't understand. You see, this country is too corrupt, and corruption is so pervasive. People think
Right.
corruption is normal.
I wanted to say some things here. I just want to show the disparity in how the government is applying economic policies to this country. Before this garbage and sewage tax, we had the municipal solid waste tax. And the municipal solid waste tax was charged on properties that were over a certain value. I think it was over $200 and some $1,000. If your property was valued above that, you then qualify to pay this municipal solid waste tax. So it exempted what we would call the poor, or persons who did not have land and land that was or houses that were valued over a certain amount. We protested that. The government protested that and said it was one of the worst taxes, whatever. The government took the municipal solid waste tax, repealed it, and implemented it in the same form now as the garbage and sewage tax. And what they did know is to say that every Barbadian poor have to pay this tax. Before, the poor were not paying this tax in the municipal solid waste tax, and she protested that, and then came back now and put the tax right on the water bills for every Barbadian to pay.
So
As far as I know,
hold a minute, Kimar, I'm asking the questions like an average Bajan. So the tax that she protested, it was the merchants that were paying that tax.
So there are two different things.
Am I right with that?
No. There are two different things. The tax he's talking about is the municipal solid waste tax. The other tax that the merchants weren't paying was the National Social Responsibility
but
Levy.
Right. Yes.
The
Okay.
merchants were paying. And the merchants didn't want it. The merchants enlisted to support the Barbados Labour Party and the idiot unions and get it repealed. And it was the fairest tax. But can I continue? I want to talk about this thing that you're talking about. So I don't want to sidetrack you.
Yes. Go ahead, Kimar. Go ahead, Kimar.
so when you look at the disparity, it's the government directly went after the poor people. Went after the poor people. People who ain't got no sewage. People who still using wells and toilets. You don't have to pay a sewage tax for a sewage that's supposed to be clean for garbage trucks that you already bought. But we're still paying the sewage tax, which you say was supposed to be temporary. And like I said, there's no check, no balance, no record. And you illegally rewrote that tax to hide the fact and to hide reporting, because every parliamentary setting you could have seen what the municipal solid waste tax made in the estimates, in the central bank reports, whatever. But we can't see what the sewage tax is making. So that type of opaque governance, where they would purposely sit and use the laws of parliament to redirect money around you, because to me this is direct robbery of the people. You're using the parliament to rob the people. Then you're hiding the fact of how much money the public has made. On top of that, then you have an entity taking up this money without the approval of the Ministry of Finance to just do what they want, do with it. And also nobody even seem like they care or concerned. But this switch tax, according to the general manager, has made over $300 million. So we have over $307 million unaccounted for. It's unaccounted for. There's no record you can reference. There's no document. We have to go with what he is saying. But still, he can't publish this as any official document or anything to verify to the, because the BW is not a tax collection agency. So he don't have to publish anything. He doesn't have to come to the public. To get justice for us, this is where ICAB and this is where the Bar Association should be challenging the financial improprieties of this government, taking them to court and forcing them to become transparent. Because to me, this is illegal.
There's one aspect of this tax that I want to address. The tax that $150 a day works out of $45 a month. All right? And it was put on every water bill. So there are houses in the city in particular that have
we're not hearing Caswell. Caswell, they're saying they're not hearing you well. Can you all hear him? Somebody's saying they're not hearing well. Do you have a fan or something on?
No, let me just, I just raise it a little higher. If that's
okay, all right.
Yes,
let's try that.
This tax, as I said, is $150 a day, $45 a month.
Yes.
That was put on the water bill. The minimum water bill in Barbados is $32. If you do not turn on your pipe, let's say you went away and you did not turn on your pipe for that entire month, you will still pay $32. Now, there are some people who use very little water, and when the meter is red, they don't use enough water to go above $32. And some of those people have just a single pipe running from the road into the yard, and they do all of their business at that little pipe in the yard, even better under that pipe. Some of them, to this day, and I don't mind telling you, don't have any water toilets or any toilets at all. But you are paying a sewage tax. But worse yet, the tax is higher than your water bill. You are paying a tax that is higher than the service you are getting. That makes a lot of sense to the government. So you are putting a disproportionate burden on the very poor. And I'm going to show you how I know that some of these people don't have toilets at all. You know, I know I represent some people at sanitation. And it has been reported to me that sometimes these people, when they don't have any toilets, they put their sewage in garbage bags. And when they put them in the garbage bags, this was known all back in Oinafa's time. That is why Oinafa set up the Urban Development Commission to make sure those people in that area have these amenities. I don't know what's happening still because Oinafa then and gone, and that commission was set up in a lot of years, and some people still haven't gotten those amenities. But you put it in the garbage bag, and what happened? The fellas have compactor trucks. So you put the garbage bag in there, you expect the compact, so the thing comes down and squeezes the bag. And crush, sanitation man bailed from head to toe in stool. Happened more than one occasion. So we know the fellas are going to toilet. But he's still paying a sewage tax. This is what this government is doing to poor people.
Yeah. And the sewage is supposed to be fixed and the truck's supposed to be bought. So if you fit, and we need to speak about that sewage thing because they borrow loans from the Chinese to fix that sewage on top of taxing us to fix the sewage. And they borrowed 2 loans to fix that sewage plant since they came in. And it was in their budget, so they can't say that they didn't borrow it. I clearly remember it was over $16 million or so that they went and borrowed to fix that sewage plant. So how could you then be going and borrowing loans and monies on top of this tax already that has made over $300 million? Again, the water authority doing what they feel it with it, but still you turn around and borrowing more money to fix a sewage that you claim to already fixed.
But trust me when I tell you, you see that sewage on the roads during the last part of the Strat administration, that was sabotage done by minions of the Barbados Labour Party. And you don't see as soon as they win the government, the fellas just went open up the pipe, the block, and it went off the road. It was deliberately done to make that last administration more unpopular than they were. Just like people put T-shirts in the engines of buses that transport board. Yes, the fine T-shirts inside there. Just like the fine pillows in the sewage. In the sewage plant.
And or beds and all type of things.
That cannot pass through the pipes. It was done deliberately. Just like a fellow who got sent home from the Ministry of Public Works. He then said, well, look, let's say he home, no when they were letting out people. And he's one of the people who helped sabotage the truck. And he was vexed. The Barbados Labour Party engaged people, but like criminals. Because if you remember, who got special invitations to the parliament when they opened, so that they know who the criminals are and they can engage their services. And they engaged a lot of people.
I want to say something about Combermere School. You remember there were a lot of issues with Combermere School. And I remember speaking to someone there in authority. I wouldn't say who it is. And they said to me, Mrs. Weeks, we would go and we would turn the tap. We would turn there's some tap that they turn there. They turn it off. And by the time they get back in the morning, the tap is open to let out this fume so that there's no school. So even at Combermere School, there are people there in authority who believe that there was sabotage, that it was deliberately done. Now, this is not trying to say that the DLP everything was all great with them. I'm just specifically speaking about the Combermere School that I know from people who are in authority there, not just somebody, just not from a teacher. And this is what I was told. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds like sabotage to me, but I don't know.
But it was planned. It was calculated. Barbados Labour Party needed to get in the power at all costs. Probably their reserves are running low, so I get back in government to fill back up. And that's the reason the takes so long to pass the integrity public life bill. They had to get the finances up, charged up first before they start declare the assets. Now they got assets to declare. So
Yeah.
don't let the body
You,
fool
you
you
know,
and people. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
you know they also destroyed the last wetlands we had in Greenhouse Swamp by running that sewage through the swamp and destroying what was left of Greenhouse Swamp. That if you actually take a walk up in there, you will see the after effects of what they did by running that all the sewage through the Greenhouse Swamp. And from speaking to some one or two engineers, they didn't have to do that. They did not have to do that. So we need to look at fresh monies again to be able to replenish that swamp, because a lot of the nature, a lot of the birds, and a lot of the water life and life, all of that was removed. So many of the birds who used to migrate coming to Barbados to use that greenhouse swamp, they don't come no more because it was destroyed because when they run the sewage through the swamp. So
But let
we
me
need to
get back
look
to
for them
water.
coming.
While poor
Mhm.
people are paying, I thought people who cannot afford. Some of these people can afford the $30, and you put $45 on top of that. But and I cannot tell you how I get this because in my job, I go out to departments and I get information when I'm representing people. So it will not be fair, or nobody will trust me if I divulge names and stuff that I get as a result of doing my work. But I can tell you, without calling names, that there are large hotels in Barbados that were paying $30 a month for water too, and $45 for tax. The same as the old fellow down the road, old pensioner. And so while they weren't doing anything about those people, they were cutting off poor people. Imagine hotels in Barbados, and I'm not talking about the little two-door hotel or the 7 or 10 rooms. They were still paying for $32 worth for water. You look shocked, Marcia. When I
I'm
see you,
here
when I
just.
see you, I can tell you what the hotel is. But I cannot,
Oh,
well, who the hotels are. I cannot say this because I got it in a confidential setting through when I was defending one of the persons who was trying to make those people pay taxes and to charge them. You have staff member seeing these people not paying taxes, not paying their water bills, and saying, these people using hundreds of thousands of gallons of water and only paying $30, and the staff member went after them. That staff member got charged, and they had to go and represent them. So that's how I knew all this. Here we tell you, you would not believe it.
wow. And everybody's paying the same $45 a month. And I mean, if what you're saying is correct, I mean, what the $32 is standard. And now
Not
the
$32 standard.
45
If
is
you lose less than the measurable amount, that's the last. That you do not pay less than $32. If a person,
right.
like, if you just use your water for a couple of days or you don't use it at all, you will pay $32. But hotels in Barbados were paying $32. How many hotels you know would pay the minimum rate, the same as the old pensioner would do? And when the officer tried to make them pay, the officer get charged. And they had to spend
Hmm.
time going to there representing the officer who was standing up for this country.
So you know that the total arrears owed to the Barbados Water Authority was just the 80 something $million, around $88 million, and the garbage and sewage tax collected that 4 times over. But the government was walking around knocking on poor people's houses, sending them notices for enforcement for owing little over like $80 and 100. It's still happening right now, you know.
I am aware.
The government actually running down people for garbage and sewage tax and outstanding bills. When the garbage tax alone, that has nothing to do with you actually paying in water. The garbage tax alone made the arrears 4 times, and the government could have just completely written off all arrears for every single Barbadian 4 times over, and it still won't put that in them because it's collect, so it starts the next day.
But
Government
they
never.
wrote off taxes for their fathers and other big people in Barbados who did not pay taxes between 1968 and 2000.
Yeah,
They can't
and
write off.
they wrote
They
off
can't
billions.
write off a $80 bill or $120 bill for poor people who can't afford it. Some of them are working, some of them on welfare. They're not writing off those, but they wrote off hundreds of millions of dollars for people who some collected VAT and didn't pay in. Some made money
Mhm.
and any revenue didn't get any, so they wanted some, put them before the court, and then the government came in and wrote it off. Between 1968 and 2000, you imagine not paying a cent of tax between 1968 and 2000? And you're a prominent member
Yeah.
of society, you're a prominent member of the bar. You know, you people better get.
So,
get
so the
rid of-
question is the question is, because we want to we want to talk a little bit about the Integrity in Public Life bill, and Lynette has a little presentation that she wants to do tonight. But I want to know from you, Mr. Stewart, what do you suggest? What do we do as I mean, we're listening to this and seeing how illegal the illegality of this tax, that it has not been done properly, like so many other things. There's no sense of accountability. It's not, I'm seeing here that it's not even included in the estimates, the budgetary proposal, the estimates in the budgetary proposal. It's not, when everything else normally that happens. Normally BRA would collect it. It's not done legally. It's supposed to be that way. They went and did their own thing. What do we do as people? We're listening to this right now. What are we going to do? Accept it? We're going to continue to accept it. What do we do?
This thing was happening in the first session under the Barbados Labour Party. The water and sewage tax was done in the first year. And those same people put on red shirts and went vote for them, Red shirts that they forgot. People, they said politicians just got short memories. Well, that memory was really short. And this time I vote for them. So, mind you, and I don't even worry about the people who voted. This election, since we had universal adult suffrage, was one of the lowest turnout ever. 59% of the people on the voters list did not vote. That's another thing. Some people didn't like Verla. A lot of misogynists that they have inside the Democrat Labour Party who don't want a woman. Bright young woman, far brighter than who we got. But they don't want her. So they work behind the scenes and pretend they're working for her and make sure she lost. So she got sabotaged. I curse everybody tonight, so don't worry about me. So they sabotaged Verla. She ain't get a seat. So 59% of the people didn't vote. But the Barbados, they're probably make sure their people went out and voted. So we got to blame ourselves. The people who didn't vote, and the Democrat, they're probably going to take the blame because they were trying. I call them misogynists. They don't like women, and they don't want a woman leader. So they sabotage her. I tell the girl, break, but don't know nothing about that woman. The woman was real bright. And
that part of Verla's manifesto was to remove the garbage and sewage tax. If elected, that was one of the pledges in the manifesto. And rightfully so, this tax should be removed because it's illegal. One, it's a slush fund for anybody to dip the hand in. Two, people just taking it and playing it and do whatever they like with it. Three, and poor people can't get no relief from a tax that probably should have never been there in the first place. So I just wanted to agree with Caswell and just to enforce the Verla issue. And give her some credit for having the foresight, but asking for this tax to be removed.
You know, so Belgians shot themselves in the foot. You know, they listen to the snake oil salesman run around the place talking about she cares. She cares about the national community. She cares about out there grandstanding and Macron and all those kind of monkey people. They getting about the people out here. And when you care about somebody, you just show it. Her behavior shows that she cares about anybody in Barbados. It don't appear what I mean. But we had politicians that talk pretty, and people thought, oh, man, they goody could talk pretty. But she talks pretty too. A lot of pretty nonsense. But it sounds good. And people like that. Trust me when they tell you. Analyze the speech and see it don't make a lot of sense. Full of cliches. I say that to say this, and all kind of monkey cliches that they don't actually. The speech don't even run logically. You know, they run from one point to the next. Halfway through up, delivering making a point, she cuts into another one because she.
But you know that
she don't write them.
You know that she has successfully asked Barbadians to pay the highest levels of taxation ever in the history of this country. We actually made $650 million in surplus. So they collected $650 million more in taxation on the backs of people since they came in agreement with their IMF targets. And I know the people felt that. But like you said, we had people who were comfortable paying these levels of taxation that they actually went back to the polls and voted back in 2011. So
Belgians must blame themselves, and I am going to tell them so all the time. I'm going to remind them that they did themselves a disservice when they put only one party in power in Barbados. It was hurting the country then, and it's hurting them worse even now because they don't listen. If they had an opposition in Parliament, at least somebody would have got up and said something, you know. But no, we listen to the snake oil salesmen, one around the place, talking pretty, lot of pretty nonsense, no substance, but people like it. You know, you got some pretty. And all of it was done illegally because they spent too much money on their campaign. And now these same people who broke every law in this country to get elected, now talking about integrity of public life. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah. Well, you know, Caswell, we this is I'm sitting here just quiet listening, and I'm saying, you know, I have notes. I make notes. I'm serious because ever since the day I knew what we were going to talk about, I sat down and tried to make notes because I'm learning, and I don't think the average Barbadian knows about all of this. And that is why so many people log on each night, because they're learning, they understand. And I've been saying that. Once Barbadians understand, Lynette, once they understand what is going on, I believe that they're going to react. And Saturday, we are going to be out there. Yes, we are going to be, when we're out there, we're specifically dealing with the NIS, and we're not giving up that. Like the Montgomery boycott that lasted 13 months. Okay? We are not going to stop until the age goes back to 65 and we get the 500 contributions right back to where it was, and all the other things, 12 things we're asking for. So those of you who are listening, all of you that's on, we need all of you, once you're in Barbados, to come out. Those who are overseas, do something overseas and let the government know that you're going to stick with the elderly. You're for poor people, right? You are for poor people. No, Lynette, you listen and hearing all of this. You know, what's your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, you keep asking the question, what can be done about all of this? I really think if you have a democracy, the only way a democracy can really work effectively is if you have core group of people, a certain percentage, which is interested in following all of these issues and then sharing them with their friends, colleagues, family. You may do it informally. Some may do it formally, and some may do it informally. But it really goes back to the people. And that's what democracies are about. You see, I don't think the democracy story was fulfilled after universal adult suffrage, where everybody got the right to vote. But I don't think that the lesson was taught that in addition to the right to vote, there is a responsibility. There's a responsibility to ensure that your country is being run as it should. And even individuals who have had the highest level of education in Barbados, many of them do not understand that. They truly believe that you go there and vote, they figure that's their civic duty, and after that, they go back to doing whatever they were doing before the election. And it's just not possible. You can't run a democracy like that. We should have different groups of people interested in promoting every aspect of Barbadian life that requires intervention by the government. Every single aspect, there should be somebody pushing every single aspect. Many of the pieces of legislation we have, they don't come from the people. They don't come because a number of people have been discussing. That has happened before, but I'm seeing it less now. Our legislation seems to be coming because there's some push from abroad for it, not from us. And that means that we are probably even slipping back further in terms of a democracy. But really, it really is about the people. And I think that's the message that everybody has to get across. The idea of having a duty to do these things should be inculcated from primary school. Really, that duty. Because many people don't see it as a duty, and it is a duty. It is a duty as a citizen.
Now,
you see
thank you.
teaching the children to do from small, the teaching how to get behind big women and walk up. That is what they want to teach their children to do. They don't want to teach them how to be responsible citizens. They want to make them creeps, because when you're like that, you can be manipulated easily. That is what we call fight. And I don't want to even talk about it anymore because it turned my stomach when I saw it the first time. I held my lunch down when I saw it.
But the funny thing is, this isn't the first year that has happened. So I'm just amazed that, every year people are going to come and behave as though they're shocked. What actually happens on the road when this is going on? Is there nobody? If I were there, I would intervene and say, stop doing that. It might lick me down, but I would do it. So, you had hundreds of people there. How did that happen? How did those things happen? Because people don't feel that they have a duty anymore. Back in the day, somebody would curse that person and say, look, try and got respect for each other and respect for yourself. That couldn't go on. But all these, in the Barbados in which we live now, these things have become the norm and people seem to feel it's a joke. But this isn't the first year. That's what I'm saying. It's not the first year. So why is everybody getting all if they're shocked? What they should be doing is preventing it from happening again.
Now, I am shocked because I'd never take part in crop over. I don't even watch. I used to live in King Edward Bank Hall, and the bands used to pass double my God. I never saw a single person on the street because I didn't come out my front door. I have no interest in it. I know it was a vile way of to control the people. This is what this is all about. get the people mindless to walk up in the street and the politicians can sail through. That was the original intent of crop over when after they had the first march from the garrison to the stadium. When the politicians saw how that was working out, they said, look, and let me give these people things to jump about. And after that, you got the National Cultural Foundation to make it an institution and tell lies about the origins of it and all kind of stuff, because you wanted to keep the people off your back. You don't want the people educated and informed. And now this government is even making it worse. Everything that they have, name something that they open that they didn't have a walk-up, jump-up thing like, you know? Nothing cultural.
Getting your mind away from everything. But tonight, the good thing about this show is, you know, Caswell, is that we try to educate, and you know, people are on, and if they're like me, I'm making notes and I'm trying to understand. So tonight, Lynette wants to talk to us about the Integrity in Public Life bill. She did a beautiful session which we had some difficulty connecting with. So I'm gonna, Lynette, can you share your thoughts on the Integrity in Public Life bill that was passed today in the Senate?
Marcia, if you don't mind, just want to ask Lynette a quick question before she jumped in. To yeah, right. You said that we are getting bills not originating from locally, but being inspired from abroad. No, I just wanted to ask: do you see it possible that in the lead up to the general election in 2018, we saw Barbados receiving downgrade after downgrade. We saw Barbados getting advisory after advisory. We saw Barbados even getting advisories on water. There were advisories on crime. I mean, it seemed to be a international push to degrade and downgrade Barbados. But to me, a lot of the factors that these international institutions criticize Barbados on have gotten substantially worse. But I do not see that same drive or that same energy together and degrade and downgrade Barbados. So I was thinking that maybe the international world has a preference of administration. Maybe, I don't know. But I wanted your perspective and feedback on that.
You mean that at that point in time, it seemed as though Barbados was not only in crisis, but in a chaotic crisis where you didn't know what was going to happen. And the truth is, not much has changed. But I said to someone, how could it be possible that in the major economic sectors appear to be in decline? Even when tourism is doing well, Barbados still used to struggle. How is it possible now that these international agencies could be saying that Barbados is doing well? It seems strange to me. I mean, I'm always actually very worried about Barbados because I don't see us getting into anything new. You always have to look for new industries of some kind, whether goods or services. You have to look for something. I don't see us doing that. And I wonder, but I was saying this to someone, and they explained it to me this way, that if you set out criteria for someone to follow, and they're following it, just like if you're a teacher, if you tell the students this is what you have to do, but then if this is what they have to do, but you will have to give them a good grade. So I believe that is the situation in Barbados, because they're following step by step exactly what was recommended. They get a passing grade. They don't get a failing grade. So that has to be what is happening. It can't be anything else. So that's my view. They're ticking the box and getting a passing grade. A lot of these pieces of legislation are to fulfill somebody's criteria. You know, we were here all this time and they weren't done. And now there's a mad rush to push through several different pieces of legislation. And when you look at some of them, you see that they're generated because of some international agreement or declaration or something that we signed on to maybe 20 years ago, but we didn't see it fit to implement them until now. So all of a sudden, we want to make sure we tick the box, everything that the international community requires. That's how it seems to me.
Yeah. Now, we want, a lot of people have told me they're coming on to learn about the Integrity in Public Life bill and to understand it, because a lot of Barbadians just don't understand a lot of these things. So I wanted to go start with your presentation, Ms. Eastman.
Okay, I had sent my PowerPoint, but
Yes,
okay,
it's coming up.
It's
coming up.
It's coming up. Okay.
Yes. It will soon be up. Guys, as we're waiting for the PowerPoint to come up, I hope don't fall asleep, you know. Listen, make sure you have something to write in, all right? And you're ready to go.
But I'm sure Caswell and Caswell will jump in to keep it exciting.
The general. Folks, Saturday, remember why we're out there on Saturday. Remember why we're out there on Saturday and how important it is for you to be out there. We're not stopping until we get the 65 and we get back to 500 contributions, and they are retiring when we retire. All right, those are our basic things. We have about 9 more things there that we want to see happen. Okay, over to you, Ms. Eastman.
Okay, so we're looking at the Integrity in Public Life bill this evening. It passed the Senate, and so therefore it still has to go to the president, and it has to be proclaimed before it actually becomes law. So what I will seek to do is to give an overview of the bill, so that you know, that you can conceptualize what it's about as opposed to looking at specific sections. So the purpose of the bill is to establish a regime for integrity in public life. That's to establish the regime to strengthen measures to detect, investigate, and prosecute acts of corruption, to alter sections of the act if necessary to be consistent with the Constitution. So basically, that's the purpose of the bill. The purpose of the bill is to ensure that we have a system that will help us to detect corruption in Barbados and to prosecute it. So in the next slide, there's the next slide coming up. I thought I would have a look at what are possible examples of corruption, because I know sometimes there's a bit of difficulty in us determining the difference between corruption and asking a favor. As I was saying to somebody today, and they disagreed with me, I think, usually when a public official is involved in corruption, quite often, there are 2 parties involved, especially if there's a politician involved. There are usually 2 parties. That is the public official, and then in addition to that, there's usually somebody in the private sector who is encouraging the politician to act in that particular way, or there's somebody in the private sector who is gaining a benefit along with the politician. So a corrupt act can range from the ones we probably think about most, that you offer somebody a contract to build a road, and then you get a kickback, a 10%. I don't know what the percentage is, a 1% or 5% of the value of the contract, because you help to facilitate them in getting the contract. At the other end is a Barbadian asking a politician or somebody they know in the Ministry of Education, for example, to help them to get a scholarship for their child. You know, to perhaps let them know what scholarships are coming up. And sometimes in those cases, the idea would be to let the child get the scholarship without competing with other Barbadians. It is also seen to be corruption when there's no government policy that is followed, say, for example, with respect to housing, where you will get housing because you know the member of parliament or your sister knows the member of parliament. Now, the reason that these are considered to be corrupt acts is because we're living in a democracy. And when you live in a democracy, it is expected that there will be equality and fairness. So if you are going to succeed, if your child is going to get a scholarship simply because you know somebody and not because they're the best Barbadian to get the scholarship, well, then that is a measure of corruption as well. So what happens in Barbados is that we start from the position that you're just asking for a little help with something. And then from there, it mushrooms. As I have said before, I remember reading an article a long time ago by a former Australian Prime Minister, and they had introduced very serious measures with respect to corruption. And he said that he was happy about that because it meant then that he did not have this moral struggle every day with individuals every day asking for something which morally he felt he should not do, but which he probably should do if he wants to continue to be successful at the polls. So he said when the legislation was put in place, all he had to say was, no, I am sorry, but you know the legislation does not allow for that now, and there are penalties such as imprisonment. So that is, now I know most people instinctively don't want to hear that it is both the politician and somebody in the society who you have together engaging in corruption. Most individuals just want to hear about the side with the politician. But if we're going forward and we're really serious, we have to not only talk about our rights, but we have to talk about our responsibilities, and we have to talk about what our duties are as citizens. And every time we want to jump the queue over another Barbadian, that is an act of corruption in itself. So I will move on to the next slide. So there's a structure for administration and enforcement. In terms of what the bill is trying to achieve, there's a structure. So at the top of the structure, not at the top, but maybe side and side, So you have the president. The president is involved in this process. The president has a tribunal, and it is similar to the actual Integrity Commission. Now, the reason that this is the case is because there's some specified individuals who make their declarations not to the Integrity Commission, but they make their declarations to this panel, which is established by the president. So when I talk about the declarations, etc., remember that this particular piece of legislation, this particular piece, is dealing with integrity in public life. So it is talking about ensuring the integrity of public officers. And public officers include judges, it includes heads of department, directors on boards, etc. These are all public officers. And the method by which you're going to try to ensure their integrity is to make sure that they disclose what they have, their assets, their liabilities for themselves, for their spouse, and for children. So that's the key method that is being used. This disclosure of what you have. Disclosure when you become a public officer, disclosure after you cease to be a public officer, and during the period of time when you're a public officer. So that's the key, that's the essential aspect of it. Could you go back to the other one? So in addition to having the Integrity Commission, you have investigative officers. So these are officers who are going to be able to go out and basically investigate in a similar fashion to how a police officer would investigate issues. There's also a panel, ad hoc panel, which belongs to the president, where if an officer does something that you feel is illegal, that you can bring the person before that committee. So the other persons who are meant to be involved in this whole process include the Commissioner of Police, the Director of Public Prosecutions, likely the investigative officers initially will be police officers, and also you have the marshals play a role, and then you have the Magistrates Court as well as the High Court. So that's the whole structure. All of these institutions are meant to be involved in the process. So now we can go on to the next slide. So how does this bill seek to ensure that there's integrity? So there's a declaration of financial affairs by specified individual. So it's either to the Integrity Commission, as I pointed out before, and includes members of Parliament, as well as to the president or the president's panel. The members of Parliament must also file a statement of registrable interests, whether they're directorships, contracts, etc. There's also a requirement to report gifts over $2,500. There's a code of conduct for individuals carrying out public functions, and this is found in the Act. And there's power given to investigate, to write reports, to lay those reports in Parliament, and also to send them to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And I would also think the Commissioner of Police, since some of the actions will be at the Magistrates Court level. And then, of course, by the implementation of penalties against the individuals. So next. So then we look at the persons who are covered. So if you can see, it includes members of the House of Assembly, as you would expect. It needs to be bigger. Sorry. Members of the House of Assembly, permanent secretaries, chairpersons of state-owned enterprises, magistrates, members of the, I guess, members of the commission, but non-senior members of the commission. So those persons file with the Integrity Commission, and then the persons who file with the President's panel are the judges of the Supreme Court, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Auditor General, and members of the commission. So as you can see, in terms of the persons covered, it not only includes politicians, it also includes other public officials of a high grade, if you use that term. So it seeks to cover as many people as possible who are in senior decision-making positions within the public sector. So next slide. So in terms of the actual declarations, there are exceptions to these. If a specified person is a trustee, and this would mean that somebody established a trust. So for example, if you have a minor child, for example, and the minor child has lost its parents, they might have agreed, say in a will, that if they died, they would appoint John Brown to be a trustee. So John Brown then takes legal possession of the assets of the child. So they can ensure that, you know, suppose they left the house in trust. John Brown will be responsible for the upkeep of the house, make sure taxes are paid. Maybe he would decide to let the child reside with him and his wife, and rent out the house so that the child could have an income, things like that. So you're the trustee. That's what a trustee is. So basically they're saying that if one of these specified persons is actually a trustee, they wouldn't have to disclose those assets because really they belong to a child. What they will have to do is declare that the trust exists and file the trust document with the commission or with the president's panel. Then now there's this blind trust that can be set up. So all of these individuals can set up a blind trust. Now what a blind trust means is that a public functionary, including politicians, can take some of their assets, any percentage, and put them in a trust, a blind trust. The idea of using a blind trust is that when you put them in a blind trust, you're supposed to separate yourself from the assets. You're not to manage them. You're not to earn income from them. They sit in the blind trust for the period of time that you are in office. What you then have to do is to file the trust document, and you have to describe the assets. They say describe the assets and the amount. I'm not sure what amount means because it didn't actually say value, it says amount. So that's the blind trust. And as I said, you would then file the trust instrument. So you then have to ask yourself about these exceptions that have been put in place. Next slide, please. That's the next one, or you skipped two? That's the next one? Yeah, sorry. Okay. So then there are the appointees to the Integrity Commission, and who appoints them. Can you make that any bigger? Okay. Okay. So the chairman must be a former judge appointed by the president after consultation with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition. Now, you will recall, if you have
Well,
looked at other pieces of legislation, you would see that this is it's like a standard form how you appoint people to various positions. But I think we should ask ourselves, if these are the very people who are making declarations and who ultimately will be investigated, is this really the best way to appoint the commission? Yes, it's by the president, but we know what consultation with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition actually means in fact. So that
Correct.
is something we have to consider. And then you have a lawyer of 10 years call in consultation with the Bar Association, an accountant of 7 years standing after consultation with the Chartered Accountants body, and then for a member of the clergy. And can you scoot across? What's after 4? Right, clergy. Then you have another person here who was appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister, and then another one on the advice of the leader of the opposition. So I think that we should ask ourselves, is this formula going to really work? The people who you want to investigate are the ones comprising the commission. Well, except the clergy, the accountant.
them
No,
just get
no, the
collection, man.
clergy is to be.
Them just get the collection.
Sorry?
No, the clergy, them just get the collection too, so.
Right, that one is with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition as well. So it's only the accountant and the lawyer that you do in consultation with some non-political person. So yeah, what do we think of that configuration? It is typical, but is it appropriate in these circumstances where these are the same people who you might find yourself in a position where you wish to investigate them? Okay, so we go on to the next slide. So then, as I said, there are these penalties. Now, the highest penalty is $100,000. Okay, thanks. The highest penalty is $100,000 on the face of it. So these are indictable offenses, which means you're going to high court. And so it is 100,000 and/or imprisonment for 2 years in both cases. And this has to do with a person who gives information to an unauthorized person. That should be unauthorized, not authorized. A person on the commission who gives information to an unauthorized person, and a person who makes a false or malicious allegation. So you would see here that the highest penalties are for people talking to other people. Now ask yourself, public functionaries are actually in the legislation. They have a duty to report things if they see them, right? But then if they make a mistake and people say, but you know how it is. You sometimes you do something and you do it innocently and people accuse you of all kinds of things. So if you're in a situation like that, you notice something is going wrong, you go home, you talk to your spouse, and they say, well, I was watching Marcy Reach Show and I see I had to lock you up for 2 years, you better keep your mouth shut. Basically, that's what people are going to say, because really the most serious penalties are for these people who might bring information, who might say this is what it looks like to me. And then if for some reason no other information is found for whatever reason, they might then turn around and bring a charge against you. So the penalties for filing a false declaration or registrable interest, these penalties are smaller, it's like $50,000. But I would add also that in connection with this, there's also a penalty of being required not to hold office for a period of 10 years, which is 2 terms. So, but this is if you're found guilty. And I see, so like if you don't file within the 90 days, you can get an extension. The thing, you know, so people who don't know how to do these things would tell people, you don't fail to put yourself in a position where you fail to file, but you can file and it could be incomplete. So then that would be a different matter. So you ask for the extension and then you file, but then it could be incomplete. I mean, at the time you might be saying that you're a blind trust or whatever it is, so you might ask for an extension. So the next slide, please. Okay, so the other penalties, there are penalties of $10,000 with respect to the commission. If you fail to appear, if you willfully insult a commissioner, if you fail to comply with a judicial disclosure order. So those are like kind of administrative matters that if you fail to comply, there's a penalty for that, obviously. I don't know, willfully insulting a commissioner, some people might argue that that shouldn't be in there because, you know, there's some people who feel that we should move away from getting being charged if you curse a policeman or that kind of thing. I don't know, but that is in there, willfully insulting a commissioner. I'm not sure what that is going to mean. Then there are other penalties. The gift penalty, this depends on the value of the gift. So the fine here is 3 times the value of the gift. The funny thing is that if the gift is found to be an illegal gift, the gift is supposed to be sent to the Ministry of Finance. I don't know why. I don't know what they're going to do with it. You know, like it's kind of odd. I don't know why you would send the gift to the Ministry of Finance. Or maybe it's going to go to BRA because they do auctions.
For the people there to smoke it.
So if you fail to declare a property interest, you could find yourself before a magistrate, and the penalty there will be $3,000 per day if you fail to disclose the property interest. But I don't know how that is going to happen, because if the people know that you have the property, but they might as well disclose it. I don't know why you wouldn't, and be faced with a penalty of $3,000 a day. If you fail to file your declarations, etc., they can be published in the official gazette. You should note too that complaints must be brought within 5 years, which is interesting. You should think about that. If you find that the person has engaged in these certain activities, the complaint must be brought within 5 years. So think about that in terms of a 5-year term in Parliament. Right, so I have the penalty. So then there's a provision too which talks about prohibited interest. So it is prohibited that you have an interest in a contract. But then there's an exception to that, in that if the contract is examined and it is felt that it isn't in conflict with the code of conduct, or it is not in conflict really with the act, you would not necessarily be penalized for having this prohibited interest in a contract. So then this would be something that is, open to question, open to argument, etc. When really I was thinking that, it was a really strong provision in terms of the prohibited interest. The next slide. Okay, that's the next one. Okay, so then I just thought I would raise some issues which civil society should look at, that the people should pay attention to. The first thing is the adequate funding of the Integrity Commission and the President's panel. So one of the things that you would have to be doing is looking at the estimates of revenue and expenditure to see what expenditure is being allocated to this Integrity Commission. And you really have to, if it isn't funded properly, it is going to be just like the Office of the Ombudsman, which it really isn't effective because it really doesn't have the power to do anything. It doesn't have the personnel, it doesn't have the money, it doesn't have the legislation to back it, nothing. So one has to be careful that you have a commission sitting there, but no complaints are brought because people are afraid that they get locked up for 2 years. And then even in terms of if they wish to carry out investigations, are they going to be funded with investigators, or are they going to be asked to use the police officers to do it? If so, the police officers are all already complaining that they have a great burden already. So then if it is to run properly, there are individuals who play a critical role: the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Commissioner of Police, the Auditor General. Are these institutions going to get additional resources? They would have to, if they're going to be asked to take on this additional role with the Integrity Commission. Then I think we have to look to see what extent there is still control by politicians in terms of the appointment, which I pointed out, that politicians are actually appointing the individuals who are meant to investigate them. And also the remuneration of the integrity of the commissioners, that lies with the Minister of Finance, as opposed to when you look at the provision which talks about how the commission is to be funded generally, it says that those funds are to be voted from Parliament. So there's a distinction between the two. Now, I think in terms of the commission, we also have to be concerned about whether or not it's going to be used for witch hunts, and whether it's really going to be hijacked by politicians to pursue opponents. Now, civil society has to make sure that that doesn't happen. What we would want is for individuals to be pursued, yes, if they're guilty of certain offenses, or if we believe that there might be, they should be investigated. But certainly, we shouldn't allow it to be used for witch hunts. In terms of transparency, we should note that the sessions of the Integrity Commission are to be held in private. They're not going to be public sessions. When you are put before the courts for criminal offenses, all of that is done in open court. But these sessions are not going to be in open court. And we should also pay attention to whether the blind trusts are going to be abused or not. My last point has to do with exchange of information. It's a big thing It's a big thing probably for like 0.00001% of the population in Barbados, but it's a big thing for me. Under this bill, we are going to be able to exchange information internationally. This is a whole other area about what Barbados has agreed to because of pressure from outside. So basically what we're doing, I think we gotta look at everything together. We're consolidating all of our information digitally. We have this, I forgive me anybody who doesn't agree with me, but I believe it is silly to try to put all your information on one card. It's a joke. What happens if you lose the one card? Suppose that thing is wiped out. You know that you don't exist. You go to your bank tomorrow and they will say, "Oh yeah, Miss Jones, yeah, I know you. Where's your card?" Oh, somebody thief it. Oh well, yeah, I know you, but the system don't know you, so you can't get your money, can't get your campaign, your NIS, you can't do anything at all. So I don't know if go back to Mother Nature. You see, within Mother Nature, there's diversity. Diversity perpetuates the planet. It is a mistake to try to pursue sameness. We're strong because we're different. So don't put all your information on one card, just like how they told you, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So that's what's happening with exchange of information. All of our institutions are being given this power to exchange information, sometimes automatic exchange of information with authorities abroad, and we should be concerned about that. So those are just some issues that I thought I would raise, and I'm looking forward to hearing what others think about the legislation. But basically, we as citizens, we would want it to work. We would want to dampen down on corruption, and I guess what we have to ensure that is not just a waste of our money.
Look, this legislation is not designed to work. It never was. It was just to give you a panacea, make you feel that you're getting something. It's like a placebo, make you think you're getting medicine, you're getting none. Let me tell you about this legislation, how it started. Under this administration, with this administration. Because if you go back, every administration that I know of, because I grew up, the Tom Adams, it was the first time I know about any politics, Tom Adams, and then come down. Everybody, every prime minister, probably except Louis St. John, promised integrity legislation. But they never managed to get it on the book somehow. Crandall Stewart was the only person that managed to get an integrity of public life bill before the House and passed. Mind you, it was not proclaimed. When these people take over the office, they found an integrity of public life bill. They said, oh, it has a lot of problems, so we are going to do our own. We're going to do it within 100 days. The 100 days, so far they had 100 days that make up 5 years. Now, you remember when these people were in opposition, they were saying, oh, we're going to declare assets. And when they came into office, they said, oh, they declare the assets and they give the note to the cabinet secretary and what not required, but they were fooling people. This bill was all about holding politicians who everybody in Barbados accused of stealing. From the Joy Edwards days and everything, every government, some politician was accused of stealing. So this was to catch the politicians and to show the people that the politicians were honest. Now these people come in here and dilute it and try to put it on everybody so that you would not get even time to investigate the what you're going to do. Let me do something. This bill has included civil servant, head of the department, permanent head of the department. So a principal of a secondary school has to declare his assets. The chief archivist has to declare her assets or his assets, yes, baby. What the chief archivist going to do? Thief an old book? No, this is to cloud you with a lot of foolishness. But at the same time, the politicians invented into our law a blind trust because we never had blind trust in Barbados before. So they want to hide their assets. Now let me show you something. Let's say that you own a construction company or you got major shares in a construction company, the build roads. You come into office and you put those things in the blind trust. You in cabinet approving contracts without money bank and notice you. So if you want public office, declare assets or don't come. That's what the legislation should be telling you. No, but the politicians have this blind trust. It is designed to trick people and make them believe that they have integrity. No, there's no such thing.
The truth is that their cabinet colleagues wouldn't even know either. They wouldn't
know either. So you can't hide people's assets, their shares and stuff, and put them in a blind trust and say you're not managing them. I can get a trustee that I trust to manage my estate for me, and then when they come up there, he can get somebody, can get everybody, can get some. So this is nonsense. The blind trust is nonsense. But let me show you. The public officers now have two pieces of legislation to regulate their conduct. And the Public Service Act is more stringent, except for the fees, the fines. It's more stringent than this Integrity and Public Life Bill. Let's spoke something about whistleblower kind of thing. You don't call it whistleblower, but that's what it basically is. You are required by paragraph 11(2) of the Code of Conduct and Ethics to report any evidence or that you suspect one of your colleagues of doing any criminal activity or any criminal or unlawful activity. You are required by law, or you can lose your job. Now, under this legislation, if you report it and it ain't true, you can get locked up. So you know, you're between a cap and two position. If I hash my mouth, I lost my job, lost my pension, lost everything. If I speak up, but my suspicions came to naught, because my suspicion might have been reasonable, based on what I'm looking from, it might be reasonable. So you can get locked up for that. You can even be dismissed from your job in the public service to show how stringent the public service rules are. If you lie to a minister, if you knowingly mislead the minister, parliament, a permanent secretary, or even the public, you can be dismissed. These provisions are here. Right now, the people don't enforce them because ministers is everybody tell us everybody else and not kind of these days. But so you have rules that you refuse to enforce, and then come and put another set on top of them. You're gonna refuse to enforce them too. 7.2, the same code. You can't do not appropriate or use public funds contrary to this act or any other law. This act means the Public Service Act. So if you use public funds contrary to any legislation in Barbados, you got problems, and then they can send it before the court. So it creates an offense here, the way you can be dismissed, and then also where you can go to jail. I know you have another one where they can do the same to you, but the politicians got one. They had none before. Civil servants had a very stringent piece of legislation, and they come in and impose another one on top of them. I was wondering which one the public servants can be bound by. I didn't hear that yet. I didn't hear nobody discuss that yet. And I didn't know. Getting to work late, too often you can be dismissed from public service. If you absent without permission, you can be dismissed from the public service. If you don't dress soberly, you can be dismissed from the public service. If you had a criminal conviction and you didn't tell anybody about it and they'll find out, you can be dismissed from the public service. If you see a pretty little girl in the office or a pretty little fellow that you like, and you talk to the fellow like it, dismissed from the public service. The public service rules are more stringent. So why are you coming here to cloud the act that is designed to catch politicians and put all this extraneous matter in it? Why? Because the politicians don't want hide. Pretend that they're doing something. They're doing nothing. Now let me go on to this thing with the Attorney General. I can't. No, you can't
Castle,
say.
I found it was never very clear to me what happened with the other bill that was being passed and then wasn't passed in the Senate.
No, no. The government didn't put it to the vote
In the Senate?
in the Senate.
Oh.
They thought that they knew that they weren't going to get enough votes, so they didn't put it because they had everybody there. And then they blamed the independent senators for not passing it. But they never give the independent senators a chance.
Oh, okay.
Right? So they are lying every time they open their mouth. Never happened. Look.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
No, don't worry about that part. These people come into office promising the world, but they only get the world for themselves. They come and trick people, making people believe that they have the answers, but they don't have one single answer. And this integrity and public life bill is something to give people out there who call themselves what they call it. There's a group called integrity something or other. And they
that was very active.
It was very active, but they don't know what they had to talk about. They don't know what they had to talk about. That's the problem, you know. They don't understand the public service. They don't know what the public service is. They sit from their high office in private sector and talk down like they know what they're talking about. And the government, well, they want this to be given. They want this to, no. You're taking expert. If you want a lawyer, right? If you want a lawyer, if you got a legal problem, you got a lawyer. These people didn't have a clue about the public service or anything else, but they're out there advising. I don't know. People sometimes like to feel good that they're talking and people listening to them. But let me get to the part with the Attorney General. I cannot say, because if you say that an attorney at law don't know the law, that's defamation. So I am not going to say that. So don't go there and quote that I said.
I didn't even realize that. People say that all the time about lawyers.
but it can be defamation. So I am not saying that about anybody. However, I want to say about the Attorney General that he don't read the law very well. Because I heard him with my own ears saying that the courts in Trinidad said that you couldn't apply the legislation to existing judges, which was not. That is not what the court said. The court said the cases Integrity Commission and the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. In that decision, the court said that when you change the law to include judges under the Integrity Commission in Trinidad, you did it by ordinary legislation. But the judges' terms and conditions were in the Constitution. So if you want to change the judges' terms and conditions, you have to amend the Constitution. It never said that you can't do it. So this nincompoop read part of it, or you didn't understand the other part, and come and tell the public of Barbados, oh, we got precedent in Trinidad that you can't put sitting judges under the Integrity Commission. Now let me tell you something. What the Constitution provides is that you cannot change a judge's terms and conditions to his detriment. Now tell me what the detriment a judge will suffer if he has to declare his assets. He can lose salary, they can take away the car, or what they can do. If you're asking the permanent secretary and a magistrate, most magistrates do more work than any judge in Barbados. They see more people, they do more cases than any judge. So why you put the magistrates under the commission and not the judges? Why you put principals of secondary schools, the chief archivist? Look at the whole list of people in the Public Service Act that are under this act. The principal of Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic, the manager of markets, director of youth affairs, principal at Earlston College. You know, the list goes on. But after the director of disability unit, you can do what you can do, teeth of wheelchair. You know, this is a bunch of foolishness. They just come up with these nonsense
I,
stuff. Tiny issues.
Cause I want to ask you, I want to ask you a couple of questions here.
Please.
I heard the Attorney General speaking to the fact that Barbados has not established what they call a ACAM chapter or anti-money laundering chapter in Barbados. And some different types of anti-money laundering legislation was passed. And there was this anti-money laundering commission that was set up. And I think it started to be corrected here, but I think the Prime Minister's father was the head of some type of anti-corruption, anti-money laundering investigative unit.
You're tricking
right?
me. Honestly, you're tricking
I'm
me.
Serious. I'm serious. I mean, you can go and pull it up. There was this unit. There was this unit set up, and people were wondering why would you set up another corruption unit when there's a unit set up already, and why would the father of the Prime Minister be the head of this particular investigative unit? And they were touting the fact about former ministers being locked up and investigated and whatever. And these new anti-money laundering laws, which were coming to the country to investigate the traces of money laundering. And like I said, they set up the ACAM chapter, and the AG was out there on this anti-money laundering campaign, right? So what I'm seeing here is some of those legislative ideas where the government is seeking to encompass public servants into the possibility of money laundering and causing these persons or whatever to declare assets, because it is common practice in corrupt governments and corrupt systems where the heads of government and the political arm would use persons in the civil service or whatever to launder money in and out of it. So in their world, it is worthy of having these civil servants or these quote unquote high level civil servants into the loop as to create a intentional link between the legislative arms of government and the other two arms of government. That's what it's supposed to be. But in Barbados, we know that all three tend to tie in to each other because of how close-knit our society is. So it is very easy for a prime minister, in collusion with an opposition leader, choosing a judge or the judges based on friendships. It is very easy. It is very easy when particular offices have the power to make such powerful decisions on consultation with each other. So this is where the parliamentary reform and the constitutional reform could change Barbados and to take away some of the powers of the prime minister to be able to perform certain selections, appoint certain officers or whatever in consultation with the office. We don't have an opposition leader, so who did the prime minister consult with to appoint many of the people that she appointed? So I'm saying that the system that we have made the prime minister almost a de facto dictator without a check or balance. And if you have either a weak opposition leader or opposition leader who is in collusion, then you end back up with almost a complete dictator.
No, let me tell you that consultation in these times don't mean nothing. Simply because if the prime minister consults with the leader of opposition and the prime minister and the leader of opposition says, I don't agree, the prime minister will tell I don't care if you agree or not, president or government, as the case may be, you still appoint my man. That we had that case with Elliot Belgrave when he was proposed to be a judge by the prime minister. The leader of opposition then was Henry Ford. Henry Ford said, who not he? And he said, Prime Minister, I want my man. He became a judge and then became Governor General. Okay? So don't look rubber. The next thing I should warn you about is ever listening to Dale Marshall. Right? Don't do that. Trust me, it doesn't you know, you won't learn anything from him. And certainly, you just get confused. As I said to you, that's he has to read the law. But let me go on because I want to talk about this thing here. I can give an example of corruption that nobody dealing with. We, under the only court process office, that you would know about this is because you go court every day. And you see some new marshals. Under the last administration, they brought in 7 persons into the court process office. Some of those 7 persons were related by blood to a particular politician. Blood relatives. It turned out that some of them had criminal records. Working in courts, Nobody vetted them because they were sent by a politician. That's corruption. You hear corruption? That is corruption. Now, in this administration, they're bringing a whole set of marshals again. And, the thing is that the best suited people for marshals in Barbados now all come from St. Joseph. Apparently, they got a particular skill, the people in St. Joseph, that make them better for marshals than anywhere else in Barbados. All right? I'm not accusing anybody of wrongdoing. I'm just telling you that the St. Joseph people are more suited to be court marshals than anybody else. Because all, so far, in this administration have come from St. Joseph.
How many are those? How many court marshals?
Well, the first one, 7 from the last one, and I'm trying to find the names of the other ones, but I don't have them to hand. But they brought in a few. And they're all from St. Joseph. So pray tell me, they don't have any
I could give you a
that will make good marshals. Because I know a few. I born in St. Thomas. I know a couple of that will become good marshals. I would have become a good marshal myself. They never took me to say I was too qualified. So I didn't take them when they applied. I'm not too qualified for a job.
I could give you a story similar to that, Caswell. I could give you a story similar to that, Caswell, happening at the prison. We had a batch of recruits. This was under Wilfred Abrams, the former first minister. We had a batch of recruits going in there doing the training or whatever, seeking to be accepted. It is being alleged that this particular grouping or whatever expecting to be included. At the last minute, the minister scooped in and pushed those recruits one side to then send a batch of his had selected recruits. And those other persons didn't get the job. Those other persons complained bitterly because they told me.
Look, you said this to me, Pepper. You just talk about my thing. I didn't get it there. I was even going to tell you one young lady whose boyfriend is in prison, and she decided, well, I can't think, and she might get her political strength full and get a job as a prison officer. But you know what they're doing now? Well, probably not right now. That is so
well, you don't know.
You understand what I'm telling you? Her boyfriend is in jail. So she has political friends. And she's missing that loving. So she applied for a president officer job and get it. But she didn't apply. She asked somebody get you one and she get it. And now it's love. It becomes a lover's nest. Politicians got to, and they're talking about corruption. Politicians got to keep out the recruitment of the public service. You brought criminals into the court process office, and now you brought horny young women into the prison. I am making this thing up. I am making it up. You have situations where people apply for promotions in the prison, and there were 40 vacancies. A lot of people apply, and the authorities take only 40 names and tell the commission, oh, we only have 40 applicants, we're going to appoint all. And when the other people here, people in trouble, I apply, I hear nothing. Corruption. And I don't know if that was one of the things that was a state secret that called for national security, because that was one of the things that should have been reported on by these people in the prison. Because I know why. Because I'm the person who drafted the terms of reference. But I insisted that this thing's done, and I drafted the terms of reference. And all of my terms of reference came out anything. I actually know, haven't drafted the terms of reference. The boy won't show me the report. So I don't know. All I know is it meant and for what. No, you can shut it down. I tell you, this place too corrupt. And people going along on this and the merry way. I know you have an act to cover over corruption and call it integrity and public life. And people think it is a big thing. That's when I tell you, sometimes when you hear well-intentioned idiots walking about the place talking about things that they don't understand. I had to call one of the people on the same group and tell me, I said, tell me something. You talking about integrity and public life, and you are coming offering people and treating them bad, foreign about notice and all kind of thing. I did that a couple of days ago. You know, a couple of weeks ago now. So, but these people walk about the place and give the impression that they're all knowing, and then the politicians, you know, trying to make people think that and listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Look, if you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to KFA for 3 years, and then you go to your wedding or the other law school for 2. If you want to be a politician, you know, there are no qualifications. You have people know who are politicians who can talk about my department and my staff, and some of them got a single pitman to the names, walking about the place, but because if you had a politician here, they cannot really off, remember? And he said, when he read, he says, he pledges allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth and her heirs. I said, oh, you see then? you know.
Whoa.
That is out in Parliament. People can't read. So, what do you expect? So they can be misled by one body who feel that I'm a big brother, they can trick all them, and they're gonna follow me. And even the ones who have education ain't got the guts, or as somebody will tell me, ain't got no gonads, balls. But then again, you know the story behind that. So when they tell you that Barbados is corrupt and this piece of legislation will do nothing to prevent corruption, it will only give the appearance of dealing with corruption. That is all this will do. A lot of fancy people with a lot of jobs. My argument was, you see these things, all these investigating officers and things, you have a commissioner of police who is responsible. Also, mind you, he is the head of the Royal Barbados Police Force. He is responsible for crime in Barbados and for dealing with crime. When you don't gotta go and put in
but let me ask you, you touch on that. We don't have a minister for crime. So
the Constitution provides that a ministry should have a minister, and if the minister needs assistance, you give him a parliamentary secretary. The Constitution does not provide for 2 ministers in any ministry. A lot of prime ministers have done it, but it is contrary to the Constitution. I can find the section and read it for you. It is, but what happens, because you got a man who's the minister responsible, he's going to get the same pay as a fella irresponsible. Because all of them get the same pay. So this administration created the post of senior minister. Senior minister in the Westminster system of government is an honorary thing. A senior minister in the ministry don't mean anything. The first time we had a senior minister in the Caribbean was George Price from Belize. He was Belize, well respected by both government and opposition. So when he lost government, the former opposition who became government appointed him senior minister, and he sat down on the front bench of the opposition. He was not in any cabinet, but that was a position of honor. So he could retain his diplomatic passport and that kind of stuff. You know, because he was a senior minister. And the only other senior ministers we got is in church. But you create a post called senior minister and give them the same pay as deputy prime minister. When Arthur did it first, when he took Billy Miller down, and Billy get vexed and complain, and so they want to give you back the same money, call a senior minister, and give them the same salary. And now you have a prime minister who is saying that we have senior ministers responsible for supervising ministers. No, the supervisor of a minister is the prime minister. No
Who's that? Who's the supervisor?
In the particular case, though, with the crime ministry, we have
each senior minister has a group
attorney.
Of ministers. A group. Each senior minister has a group of ministers that supervises that group. So when the prime minister gallivanting about the place, she ain't gonna look back because she got people doing her job.
So how many senior ministers we have now?
They got about 5.
5.
Right? Joe, all that
5.
means is that drawing more money from the treasury than is necessary, that is in accordance with good practice.
All of
cabinet is draw $4 million a year. The salaries of cabinet is $4 million per year.
I hear you say that, but they will continue drawing until the day they die. So when you don't only think about $4 million, think about the $2 million in pensions from the time they reach 50, because what will happen? They will get a gratuity. They can take the gratuity. So then instead of getting 2/3, they will get half of their salary. Okay? And half your salary for as long as you live. But of course, there are going to be increases and stuff as the time go along. Right? So this is a smoke and mirrors government. Give people pressure. You know, they said many hands make light work. They're going to work for a lot of them.
Okay, well, I want to bring something to your attention. In Trinidad, we have an attorney general and we have a minister of national security. In Barbados, the minister of national security is the prime minister.
The prime minister.
We have the attorney general, and then we have a minister for crime. So
no. We don't have a minister for crime. This is essentially a minister without portfolio. They say that he's responsible for crime. He is responsible for nothing. A minister in a ministry, other than the substantive minister, is responsible for nothing. Don't let anybody fool you. That is to give Corey a job. I see responsible for something. He can't make a decision. He can't sign an order. Like, for instance, let me give an example I talked about earlier in the week. Severance payments. They changed the severance payments requirements from the COVID period so that people will get less money or don't get any money at all. But they couldn't do it under the existing system. So they created this new system and brought people in to adjudicate the cases. And these people adjudicate the case, and when they finish, the national insurance will pay the severance payment due to these people. Now, under the law, if national insurance pays severance pay to employees of a former company or our company, that company is responsible for paying back the money, and the national insurance will give you let you pay back over a period of time. Mm-hmm. We had a situation where I don't know where the prime minister was, but they had to rush to get this legislation in place because it had expired. As a matter of fact, it expired, and then they brought it back. They come back and revive the dead. And Ryan Strachan signed the order, signed these new regulations as minister responsible for severance pay. I checked with the clerk of parliament because I didn't hear or see when anytime that he became minister or was acting minister responsible for severance. So but he was in the ministry, he could do it. So no, any one of those employers who is faced with a claim for national insurance can tell me, but I am paying back the money because you don't have the authority to take the money from me because Ryan Strachan was never a minister. I don't know if that was deliberate so that people don't go to pay it back or what. But that is going to be the effect. the employers will say national insurance pays up. We're not paying national insurance because it was not done under the normal rules. And under these rules, a person claiming to be minister. I remember years ago when the minister responsible for agriculture had took up price control, and they had to change the legislation because the price control order was signed by the wrong minister. So the actual prices that you control the prices, they couldn't take effect because you had the wrong minister. You know who saw that? The guy in the printing department who used to say.
So you say all of these? So you say wait. So you say all these ministers like Sandra Husbands, Sonia Brown, Ryan Strong, Corey Lane, anybody who's a minister in the ministry just like a glorified personal assistant to the minister with no power, but get ministers pay.
They have the constitution says that they could be the most they could be is a parliamentary secretary.
So how are they allowed to come to the public and say that these persons are ministers of the crown?
Well, that is because a public don't know the rules. So if you don't know, anything will bypass you. You know? If they tell that they can fly, people will believe it. My job let to see them flying. Get top to try to build and start to fly. But they won't please me and do that.
So just cut the cabinet. Just cut the cabinet. After all, 17 ministers was too much.
Last night I told you, Mayor Motley in opposition said Frandl Stewart had 17 ministers, and that was 5 more than Barbados needed. I hope people remember that. I hope you remember that.
Yeah.
When she came into office, she got 26. Well, according to her mathematics, 26 is less. That's all I can tell you. You got ministers talking about the place. When it was in the Senate, when I had a shot down Cappy Goodness one day when I tell you, but Cappy, you remember when you were Minister of Education? You weren't very effective, but you were handling education, youth, sport, and culture, and something else. No, there are 4 ministers handling that portfolio that you had. 4. And you hold on your head. Because you got minister of sport, you got one of a culture, you got one of all kind of foolishness. So that's all finding work for themselves. One of the hiring people. We had a minister on stage in a particular ministry who used to decide which message to drive which vehicle. That is in their clerk job.
Somebody's asking how many, if anybody knows, how many consultants and advisors are there?
They were paying out $24 million worth in consulting fees.
These people are also employed illegally. These people are paid from the public purse. And if you are paid from the public purse, you become a public officer, temporary or otherwise. And they should be selected by the Public Service Commission, or what they call themselves these days, in accordance with the Public Service Act. No, you bring in your yard fowls, and they don't have to have any particular knowledge. We have right now at the Water Authority a consultant truck driver. He was a truck driver all his career, and now he retired to bring as a consultant. So I call it a consultant truck driver. Yeah.
So what was he supposed to do?
I don't know what a consultant truck driver does, Lynette. See, I know enough things, but I know that. He's a consultant truck driver, but that's all it could be. You know another skill?
So tell me, the Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance, and then the Minister, and then she's the Minister of Culture. How many ministries does she run?
Minister of Culture, no, I don't remember. I got so many reasons. I can't.
No, she
no. She brought the Ministry of Culture under her office. That's when she fired John King. And she brought the ministry under her office, and Chantal Marona is now the minister in the Prime Minister's office, the responsibility for culture.
Again, that is a
So
corruption.
she's.
So the minister.
So hold a minute. So the prime minister is a minister of finance. The prime minister is a minister of culture, and the prime minister is a minister of security.
Yeah.
National security and public service.
Now, one of the things I noticed is all of the soft ministries or all of these soft funds, NCF. If you look at the estimates, you would see all of this soft money is now in the Prime Minister's office.
When you say soft money, what do you mean? What do you mean? To be clear, what do you mean by soft money?
Money that would be in the National Cultural Foundation that you can come crop over time. You can create all kinds of things, all kinds of avenues to give people who you favor money. And there are ministries like that. I mean, they might have been set up with good intentions to support certain people, to support development activity. But the issue is always, how do you choose these people? So if you look at the estimates, you would see that a number of those things, including the NCF, I can't remember the other ones right now, but they were brought under the Prime Minister's office.
Yeah.
So then the Prime Minister's office is responsible then for determining where that money goes. I noticed it.
Speaking of which, where in the area where you contest traditionally.
Himar is broken.
Himar dropped out, but yeah, he will come back in. But I'm still here because I run my organization, and we have we've been here and we're in the arts, and I understand how to run an organization. I'm trying to understand how in heaven's name this could ever be happening in this country. The Prime Minister is a minister of culture. Sit down, think. You business people, think about it. The Prime Minister is a minister of culture, the Minister of National Security, and the Minister of Finance. Does that even make any sense? Is this what we signed on to? This is a mockery. Is this real? This don't add up. Does this happen? Lena probably knows some of the history and cause. Well, does this happen anywhere else in the Caribbean? That the Prime Minister is a minister of so many ministries?
It happens in the Caribbean, but not outside of the Caribbean, not in England where we take our thing from. But no, this is just a few of the Prime Minister's ministries, I will have to find the official gazette. I had it here somewhere. I don't know if I can put my hand on it in any hurry, but I will send it by here.
This is crazy, Lynette. This is crazy. I mean, what I want to know. I mean, the way everything, what it seems to me is like there needs to be a way that the people can. How do you get a vote of no confidence? How does that happen, Lynette? You're a lawyer. Is that possible?
It's possible if you had people who are willing to vote against. First of all, you have to have somebody who propose it, and somebody who will second it, and then they get debated. Now, if all of them are in the same party, and all of them are most of them are unemployable elsewhere, you think you can bring your own government, and then you don't got to work again? So you don't get a no-confidence motion around this time. Matter of fact, Ben had a no-confidence motion in Sandyford. Owen brought it, and some of the people who signed Sandyford's presence here when he died were the most rabid persons against the same Sandyford. I don't know. I didn't know that Sanford was so well loved until he died.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I miss.
Not,
Sorry,
go
I
ahead.
was just saying, I miss a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
was said because
Yeah, Kimar, you were asking a question and then you dropped out. So go ahead, please. We have 7 minutes. We have seven
yeah,
minutes to go. But
I,
Kimar,
I
ask the question and make the point.
right. I was saying quickly that I think comfortably that Kim McConney was one of the worst ministers that education our country experienced, and even if we chat about how she was facilitated politically. We never heard about her before 2018, really, in politics. And the constitution of the country was changed to facilitate her coming back to Barbados. Temporary senators were appointed and everything. And the government changed the entire law to bring her back. Then John King, after doing one term, stepped down to then facilitate her into the House of Parliament. Then, like, in the snap of a finger, she was appointed to serve over one of the largest ministries that we have financially. And even if we protested the computer science test and we heard the responses coming up from her speaking to the people, um, we see schools are in a mess. We see they can't even get the 11 plus thing corrected. And none of the goals of the government as it relates to the management of education were met. And to me, COVID was the biggest loss for young people in Barbados or youth as it relates to education. And the government seems not to be doing anything at all to improve their law. They don't even want to increase the fees at UE after criticizing the last government for doing it. So what really is happening to the education system in Barbados is crumbling right under the hands of what seems to be a political appointee and favor and friend of the Prime Minister, because I do not see the competence as it relates to her in education.
Listen to me. You see the competence in any other minister? No,
Well,
why should she be the only one competent? None of the rest are. You see, so so don't go on that road. And I can tell you something too. I am not defending her. What I'm going to tell you though is that this computer test that we had, the first one was done, she was in the Senate. When the first test was done, she was in the Senate. You do not go to an international agency to do a series of tests and to do one, and then when the new minister come in, you go back and go do another one. These tests were approved by the cabinet even before she became Minister of Education. So you gotta ask yourself, who was the Minister of Education that approved the first one?
Santia.
Forget it, she was not the minister when the first test was done. The only reason that test came out, you see, because I got a cousin for black people in this country, the black people in this country did not say anything about that test when it was first done. It is only when the white children from Queen's College went home and tell the parents what happened that the white people start making noise and they be jumping. You forget that? It happened before. And no, at the other schools and nobody didn't say anything. It is only when the white people took offense that it became a big issue and we jump up on the back. We black people are too cowardly. I don't want everybody to be like me. But I don't want to be such a coward either.
We're going to follow you, Caswell.
I don't want to lead anything. For me, I don't want to lead anything. Right now, at my age, the only new career I want to embark upon is pensioner. And then these people get the way like put me on 68. So,
But is it where education is concerned though? Anybody who cares about education and cares about the future of the country, you wonder after all this time, because before this government got into office on the first occasion, there were town hall meetings about education. There were presentations that were made. They were looking at other models in other parts of the world. So why is it that in 2023 nothing has happened up to now? Nothing has happened really.
Watch. You should watch. Yes, Minister. So Humphrey calls that good, useful work. You know, where you go and do a study and you have do a paper and you get that paper done. All that is good, useful work. It don't it comes to naught and you do it again. You know, it's good, useful work. It makes you look like you're doing something, but they're doing nothing. Look, we have never paid so much for government in this country until now, and we are getting less than ever before. I remember old permanent secretary told me the best minister he ever had was the guy used to drive a taxi before underground the islands. What's his name now? Massy Cox. He said Massy Cox is a very intelligent man, but he didn't overreach, don't overstep his boundaries. But most ministers in Barbados nowadays take over the work of permanent secretaries, and we got a lot of dumb, duncy permanent secretaries who ain't got a clue. But the only reason that they become permanent secretaries is because they have the Prime Minister's backing, Prime Minister's ear, or whatever. And that is not how the public service is supposed to function. I was telling you about the recruitment of marshals and prison officers and all kind of thing. You know? Once you got the politician's ear, you will get promoted, you will get appointed, you will get the job. And then the job don't get done because you don't have the wherewithal between your ears to get it worked
So
out.
you support putting these permanent secretaries on contracts,
That is nonsense. That is absolute rubbish.
but the government is proposing it.
I can tell you why. Our system
we tell us in 1 minute as well.
Okay.
And we continue tomorrow. We continue tomorrow.
Our system is designed for temporary politicians and permanent civil servants. When the politicians go out, the permanent civil servants remain. And those permanent civil servants are supposed to give good advice to whoever forms the government. Now, if you have a fellow who is temporary because he's on contract, when the prime minister or any minister wants some advice and he don't get the advice that he can say, well, sorry, but prime minister, this is not what you should be doing. He ain't get a contract and get renewed. And that's what it is. That's why it is done, to keep those fellows in subjection.
But Caswell, I don't think we are so bad at giving ourselves credit for things that we do well, that I don't think that people understand how all of that is undermining the stability of this country. All of those things, people just see them as little things, but all of them added together, we will wake up one morning and wonder how Barbados got this way.
It's called dictatorship.
You're destroying the country, you're destroying the structures of the country, which have held it in good stead all these years. Yes, we need reforms, for sure. We need to do things better. But the structure that works, that support us, if we destroy that, we're not going to have anything. And that, I mentioned that before in another session about the fact that the civil service provides that continuity in everything that some other countries are not so fortunate to have. We were lucky always to have that.
If your car breaks down, you do not get a plumber. Right now, this broken down car has bare plumbers.
Guys, thank you. As Yvonne says, this has been a very educational and insightful session. Listen, and somebody's asking for 30 more minutes. Come and join tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is very important. Tell somebody about it. And let me tell you, what I'm telling you to do, I am doing. I learned so much tonight. I got my little book here, Yvonne, and I write in the book. I don't like to put the notes in the phone. Right? So tomorrow night, we're going to... That book what?
That book getting big.
Yes, it's getting big. I'm fat because I write in. So guys, Lynette, that was awesome. Your presentation, Kimar. Thank you. Where's Kimar? Did I add it to the stream? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Kimar, thank you for your presentation this evening. Mr. Franklin, the General. Oh my Lord of mercy. I learned and I laughed. 2 L's. Thank you so very much, guys. And here we have the bill. I mean, here we have the march that is going to be on Saturday. And listen, guys, all you know, we laughing, but it's a serious matter. We're very focused on it. There are 12 demands that we're making because we have a right to. We put them there. We put everybody there. We put them in power, and there are 12 of them that we're making, and we're not going to stop Barbados until it's done. This is going. If it's going to take us 13 months, like the Montgomery protest, we should not stop until it's done. So make sure we have unfinished business. We're out there on Saturday at 10 o'clock. All right. So thank you to everybody who joined. This was fun learning, and it was fun as well. See you all tomorrow evening, and invite somebody. All right. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good
See you
night.
All right. Good night. Good night.